So very simply, how determined are you and the boys to make sure there's no Celtic title party at Tannadice?
Well, absolutely, very determined, to put on a good performance and try and get another positive result. We're coming into the game off the back of 3 really good important victories, 3 clean sheets, and I think that defensive structure and that solidity that we've had in the previous 3 games is really going to be called into question on Saturday against real quality opposition. And Celtic have shown in the last couple of fixtures, after the disappointment of the performance against St Johnstone at McDiarmid Park, they've really bounced back. Brendan Rodgers has made a few changes to the starting 11, and those players have certainly grabbed their opportunity. And you saw that with the high-scoring victories against St Johnstone and Kilmarnock the last couple of games.
I guess it's inevitable, given what's at stake for Celtic going into this game, that a lot of the focus will be on them. Maybe you're going into it, we got under the radar, as you can maybe make a case Dundee United have done all season, and it's served you pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's only natural that in the build-up to this game, given what's at stake for Celtic, being able to wrap up the league title, you would imagine all of the press attention and the media attention will be on them, but it's our job as the opposition to try and make life as difficult as possible, and if that means trying to delay those celebrations for the Celtic fans by another week, then we would be absolutely delighted with that. Our last game against Celtic at Tannadice was a really good positive performance from us, where we were able to take a really valuable point. So we have to maintain the high standards that we've shown recently. We've, as I said, been on a very good run of our own, and we want to try and keep that going.
And of course, with Aberdeen playing Hibs up at Pittodrie, I guess you've got to look at this game as a great opportunity for yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, look, something's going to give in Pittodrie. There's going to be points dropped by one of the 2 teams, and we've got to try and capitalise on it. We understand that we're going to be huge underdogs going into the game on Saturday, but teams have proven already, like St Johnstone only a few weeks ago, that if you get your tactics right on the day, if you defend properly, and you take those 1 or 2 opportunities that you get, then you can cause an upset, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Just looking at the bigger picture of Scottish football, I mean, whether it's this weekend or next week or whenever Celtic will win the title again, is there anyone that can stop them? Is there any way anyone can stop them? Is it something that you see, is it a trend that you see changing anytime soon?
Listen, I think the league as a whole has been really exciting, and I think it's been really competitive from second place down to bottom of the table. There's still so much at stake for everyone. Even the fight there for the top 6 battle, 3 or 4 teams going for it right down to the last day prior to the split. You can see what's happening at the bottom of the league. Of course, we want it to be more competitive at the top end as well, but that's a difficult one to balance for clubs like ourselves, given the financial resources that the likes of Celtic and Rangers have got. It does unfortunately come down to that a lot of the time. So unless they can change the prize money a little bit, and teams like ourselves and Hibs and Hearts and Aberdeen can start qualifying for Europe on a regular basis and bring in more money, then that's the only time we're going to be able to really, I suppose, go and compete. But it would certainly make it a far more exciting league if it was more competitive at the top end. I think if you take Celtic and Rangers out of the Premiership right now, you look at what kind of a league you've got on there. It's really, really tight from 3rd place, right down to 6th or 7th at the moment. So that would be a hell of a title challenge. But look, it's not where our focus is right now. Short term, medium term, and long term. Our focus is on trying to make sure that we become a regular top 6 team, then a regular European team, and then we'll see what happens after that.
I've spoken a few times this season about ticking off the targets: survival, top 6, now Europe. Given that certainly from the eyes of out with Tannadice, people will say that you've overachieved this season, perhaps. Is the pressure almost off you going into this last 5 games? Because anything you get now is a bonus.
No, I don't accept that, to be honest. And I've been trying to make sure that the players don't have that kind of mindset going into the last 5 games either. Of course, there was a sigh of relief when the top 6 was secured, but at no stage have we took our foot off the pedal and relaxed in training, and the guys aren't getting any extra days off. There's still 5 huge games for us to play for a lot of points, and the 5 teams that we're going to face in these last few weeks are all teams that we've had relative success against in the past. We've taken points off every one of them over the course of the campaign, and we have to believe that we're capable of doing that in the next 5 fixtures. So there's still a hell of a lot to play for. We're not just satisfied with the position that we're in right now. 5th place is not guaranteed. St Mirren have had a great kind of few weeks to get themselves into the top 6, and they'll believe that they can catch us, and we have to believe that we're capable of catching Aberdeen and Hibs above us. So still all to play for as far as we're concerned, and we certainly won't be taking our foot off the pedal anytime soon.
Just in terms of your players, there's been a few bits and pieces in the papers over the last few days about Decky moving on in the summer and Louis Mole moving on in the summer. Just your thoughts on that, and is there any further update in terms of any other players whose deals are up in the summer, whether they will be leaving, or in terms of you being able to keep the ones you want to keep?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the not so enjoyable part of being the manager when you've got to make those difficult decisions on players' futures. But I can't speak any higher of the likes of Louis Moult and Declan Gallagher in terms of what they've done for Dundee United over the last couple of seasons. Hugely influential figures last season in helping us get promoted back into the Premiership, and both players have played a considerable part in putting us in the position that we're in right now. Those decisions are not taken lightly. There's a lot, weighed up. There's always an argument about when do you break the news to the players. Some people think you should wait till the end of the season, but personally, I don't think that's fair to those players. They've got wives and kids and mortgages just like the rest of us, and I think you've got to be fair to the lads and give them enough time to try and sort out their futures at other clubs. So they're on board with what we have to do over the next 5 weeks. They've been extremely professional since we've had those conversations, and they both want to play a part in the next 5 fixtures, and they want to leave Dundee United with their head held high, and I know they'll leave with the greatest of respect from the Dundee United supporters and all the staff here as well.
And is there any other update in terms of any of the other players who are out of contract in the summer?
We're having conversations with a few of the other ones, but I've got nothing to give you at this moment in time.
Just if I can name one, Jack Walton has been standout for you. He's another player that falls into that category, and I would imagine that, given his importance to the group, he'd be somebody that you would be keen to try and get back here for next season. Yeah,
I mean, look, Jack's a terrific goalkeeper. Again, had a brilliant season. We've had 12 clean sheets, this season in the Premiership, and Jack has played a huge part in that. Obviously the guys in front of him have contributed, but Jack's made some big saves at key moments. But that's not one that we're in control of, unfortunately, because Luton Town have got the option on Jack for next season. But he knows my thoughts on him. I think he's still got room for improvement. I still think there's a lot of development still to be done. He's at a great age for a goalkeeper, working closely with Paul Mathers and Dave Richards and the guys in that department, and he's been a really influential figure for us. And of course, you want to hold on to your better players, and Jack is certainly one of those, but it's not one that we have got control of at this moment in time.
Does that find what would be just your team news generally, bumps and bruises?
Yeah, I mean, the usual at this time of season. The lads are one or two carrying knocks and niggles, and trying to get them through the next 5 weeks, trying to modify one or two training sessions for a few, just to make sure that they're available for the big games. But we're relatively strong going into the game of the weekend. Ross Graham unfortunately will miss out, but other than that, we should have a clear bill of health.
Jim, you've spoken about how the club is always looking to strengthen, not just when the transfer window's open, but throughout the season. How much is your finished league position going to affect those plans in terms of transfer budgets and so on?
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't imagine I'm too different to any other manager out there. You try and plan and prepare well in advance of the transfer windows opening. And you know, there's a lot of players out of contract, and you know, as of January, obviously we've been allowed to speak to those players. So you know, there's conversations ongoing with numerous players and agents at the moment. And yeah, that's my job as the manager, is to try and continue to drive the club forward. You know, not to stand still, to try and continue to improve and make progress. And it's something that we've been working tirelessly on. Obviously, we have the change in the recruitment department with our head of recruitment, Michael Kearney, leaving to go back to England. But we're, you know, well down the line in terms of finding a replacement for him. And but that hasn't changed. You know, my job on a daily basis is to look at players, see who's becoming available, and identify good targets.
On the game on Saturday, obviously we spoke about the importance of it to Celtic, but when things are so tight round about you, how important do you think it can be in sort of setting the tone for your players and also for the teams round about you for the rest of the post-split fixtures?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, as I said to a previous question, you know, I know the emphasis and a lot of the focus is on Celtic. But you know, we've still got a hell of a lot to play for ourselves, and that's been the message to the players and to the staff, that we don't drop our standards over the next 5 weeks. You know, players are playing for a number of different things, whether that's contracts here or contracts elsewhere. You know, there's going to be international squads announced in the summer. You know, we've got a number of our players who want to be knocking on the door of all of those international teams, and of course there's, you know, lots of points and places in the table for us as a group, and you know, we've got a huge amount of fans that, you know, come to Tannadice to watch us and travel on the road with us, who pay a lot of money to come and see their team. So we owe them to keep going, to keep fighting, and to put on a performance.
Do you have a points target for the next 5 games?
No, you know, over the course of the campaign, we did have a points target every 11 games for the players, which was 15. You know, we felt that 45 points would be enough to get top 6, and we actually ended up on 50. But our points return over each 11 games has been relatively consistent. But you know, in the next 5 games, anything can happen. You know, I think that's the beauty of the split. You know, you see teams going on fantastic runs, you know, with 4 or 5 games to go, and it can really make an impact on the league table. We have to believe that we're capable of beating all 5 teams in the top half of the table. As I said, we've taken points off every single one of them throughout the course of the campaign, and we're going to try and do the same in the last 5.
No easy games coming up in these next 5. You could probably point out that the hardest one is the first one against Celtic. Do you think that could benefit Dundee United, getting that done and out the road first?
Well, it's hard to tell right now. I mean, I suppose time will tell. You know, if you could have asked me, would I have wanted this fixture if I could have picked it? No, probably not. You'd probably rather play them in the second last game, I suppose, where, you know, the league is done and it's wrapped up, and they don't have the excitement of winning the league at our stadium. So I mean, look, there's a lot of incentives there for us. You know, we want to ensure that that doesn't happen. You know, we want to delay those title celebrations for another week if possible, and that's what we'll try and do.
This is obviously the business end of the season for the players. Does the position at Dundee United, and where they have Europe as an option, does that help focus the players at this point, and does the general league help with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, there's a number of our players within the squad and a number of members of the staff, myself included, that have never experienced, you know, European football at club level. So there's that is an added incentive for the group. We don't think for one moment that we've guaranteed that yet. You know, there is you know, a healthy points difference between ourselves and St Mirren at the moment, but with the form that St Mirren are in, and you know, some of their results and performances against teams in the top half, I know Stephen Robinson and his players certainly won't give up the fight. So you know, if we could finish in 5th, I think that would be a fantastic achievement, but we're not satisfied with that. You know, we want to try and get 3rd, and we're still very much in the fight for that.
Very simply, give us your thoughts going into this one this weekend.
A lot of thoughts, yeah. I'd say you have to know, obviously, the task that's at hand is a big one. I'm sure they're going to be coming in with a serious amount of determination to, you know, kind of get their foot over the line. But we need to show our quality. We need to stand up to them and be ready for whatever they throw at us. Yeah.
You talk about them coming in with a serious amount of determination. How determined are the United players to ensure that there is no Celtic title party at Tannadice this weekend?
Yeah, you don't want that as an opposition player. I mean, it's great for them being in that position, but in terms of us, we've got our own things to look forward to in terms of pushing for European spots. And for us, it's just another game to get 3 points, and you don't really want them to be having a great party at our home stadium. And unfortunately, circumstances happen, you know. But all we can do is our best, and we need to really be looking forward to trying to put a stop to the party almost, you know.
I guess it's inevitable, given that Celtic can win the title. A lot of the focus going into this one will be on them. But you'll be going into it perhaps flying under the radar a little bit. And I guess arguably you could say maybe it's something Dundee United have done all season. They've maybe just been under the radar, and it seems to have gone pretty well.
Yeah, it seems to, yeah. Sometimes that can be a good thing, you know. But I'd say surely some of them are used to it, but being under that kind of intense pressure and spotlight is not for everyone. It's not, you know, it's hard to play for clubs, and I would even consider us. It's hard to play for a club where people care about, you know, winning. The fact, like, the people who come to watch us every weekend, it makes the weekend when you get a win. It's like the pressure. I speak to my family sometimes about the football, and it really isn't for everyone. The pressure of it every week it's not to be understated, and sometimes going on the, like you're saying, under the radar can actually be a positive, because it's, you know, and I understand the whole thing's going to be on them and all the media and all that, but in terms of, we need to be focused on our camp, you know. We're Dundee United, and we need to be looking at what we need to do, you know.
And I guess it's all to play for from a Dundee United point of view. Aberdeen, Hibernian, taking place at Pittodrie this weekend. So I guess you've got to look at this game. It's a big opportunity for Dundee United, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to, and that's not trying to put any, you know, disrespect on Celtic at all, you know. But in terms of, we need to look at what we're trying to get to this season. In terms of a team that's been newly promoted, I played against them last year, you know. To be in the position we're in is amazing. To be able to think we could get, you know, a third or fourth spot and get into a European place, be playing European football next year. I mean, you know, that's got to be the focus of everyone, and it is. You can tell by everyone that's around here. That's what we all want, and it's what the whole club wants. So we need to think of it that way too, in terms of that's what we're striving for. And every team's got their own goals, but we can only focus on ours.
And we were talking about pressure just a minute or two ago, but I mean, Dundee United have achieved every objective so far, staying in the league, top 6. Obviously Europe's the goal now, but given that you've, in the eyes of maybe a lot of people out with Tannadice, overachieved, is the pressure almost off for Dundee United for the next 5 games?
Well, maybe it's about perspective. Depends how you look at it. Depends how you look at it in terms of, maybe you look at the squad we have and you think, well, you know what, when we line up, we're a good team. You know, we've got some good depth in our squad. You think, you could maybe say we've overachieved in terms of, I understand the viewpoint we've overachieved coming up, but you look at the signings they've made in the summer, and obviously they bring people in January. It's like, we've got a good squad, you know. We've got some quality in the changing room. So I would maybe say, whether you're looking at it from the viewpoint or not, the facts are the facts that we're in the position we are in, and to be there, you know, it really should give you almost like, you know, the kind of carrot is dangling, you know, you're trying to get to it. You got to look at it that way, because what an achievement it would be.
And just from your own point of view, just on a personal level, how would you sum up how things have gone for you at Dundee United since you came in?
Well, that's a hard question. Okay, well, one I would like to say I've actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a great place. There's great people. I'm not just saying that because you're here, but there is great people here, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every day of training. Obviously, I would have liked to have scored, you know, early on. I would have liked to have got a few goals at the start and maybe settle all that. But in terms of how I felt it's gone, I try not too much to look into that, and I just try to enjoy every day as it comes, because things can be over quickly, and you try not to miss them by looking too far into the future. I've enjoyed it so much. It's a great place, and the people here are really easy to be around. So hopefully, you know, we can end it with a positive note.
Obviously, though, is there a slight frustration that you haven't had more game time, or is it just when you've got Sam Dalby banging in the goals? It's going to be very difficult.
Sam, yeah. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, but then you have to understand that when you're coming in. You have to understand that Big Sam's done brilliant, and he's a great fella. I'd like to have more game time, yeah, but then at the start I got the game time. I wouldn't say it's anyone else's fault. I mean, I had the opportunities. I think now more so, maybe the last couple of times I've been on, I've maybe tried to show a bit more quality, and I think I've done that a little bit more so in the games I've came on recently. But you got to understand, I've been there, when you're scoring goals, you get in a rhythm, you can't argue with it, and sometimes you have to unselfishly step back from it and understand, right, well, why are you here? You have to understand why maybe you haven't been the team, or you aren't playing, and it's very easy to point at someone else and tell someone else, it's his fault, or it's his fault, you know. That's not my style. But hopefully the next couple of, you know, weeks running up here now, it would be great, yeah, to play some games, yeah.
This is the final one. When you touched that, never mind what's gone before. 5 huge games coming up, and just hope you can play your part, maybe get a couple of the goals to get them over the line.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That would be ideally the perfect situation for me. A couple of goals and then get us into, you know, a good European spot would be ideal. You know, I think that would be kind of the icing on the cake for me in terms of really enjoying a couple of months of football, because I needed it. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way of putting it to you without being too boring.
Rory, you touched
Sorry,
on the...
I'm absolutely wrong.
No, it's okay.
Here, lad.
You touched on the quality of the squad in general. I imagine the manager has stressed the importance heading into the split of the whole squad, whether you're starting or coming off the bench.
Yeah. But then, I suppose the amount of games you have, things are going to change, and you know, people are going to come in and out, and that just happens. People hit form, people don't hit form. Yeah, he has mentioned that a lot of times, but obviously as a player, you want to play all the time, you want to play every minute, but sometimes that's not how it works. And I think especially for me the past year has been, I've went from there, I've went all the way to I've went up levels through the lower leagues, and then I've took a jump again, and then a jump here. It's like, you have to understand you're at a different level. And it's not a disrespect to the levels I've been at, it's just you are at a different level, like, no matter how you put it. And I think maybe that time of getting used to it has really actually done me well. And yeah, I think he has he's maybe reinforced that over the past couple of weeks. But then it's worked. I mean, you look at the Hearts game the other day, Glenn came on and ended up setting up Sam. And then that was a massive win. So it's like, you don't win things with the people. It's not just 2 or 3 people that do it every week, you know. It's sometimes people come on and change a game for you, and I think it's sort of done the United well anyway. Yeah.
You speak about playing at that higher level. Have, just like in actual game situations, have you found that quite tough, playing at the higher level?
Yeah, but then I suppose you could put the opposite way of it. You're playing with better people, so sometimes it's been made easier for me by other people. Yeah, I think. No, I was maybe thinking, I hope I don't get here and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, I'm absolutely rubbish, you know what I mean? But I found that okay. Yeah, I found that alright, and I think with a bit of time, with a bit more time, I think I'd be really able to show my quality in, because I've no doubt of that. That's not an arrogant way, I don't have any doubts. I'm not delusional in any way. I know I can do the business here. So, yeah, I think it's maybe that adjustment period has been good for me, but I've enjoyed it. Some of the dreams I've had when I was a kid of playing, you know, at this level, have came true for me, you know. So you got to look at the grateful side of it too.
Just one last one from me. You talked about Big Sam earlier. just training alongside him and playing alongside him, what's that been like for your own development?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, he's taught me how to head the ball. I think. Yeah, he's maybe got the best header in the world. Yeah, it's just I actually sit. So I sit nearly like just at a spot away from him. But I said this a while ago. I did an interview. It's just you never know what you're gonna get with a striker, because all the strikers have got big egos and I'm not passing to you because if you score, I'm not gonna play and all that rubbish, you know. But Sam is the most like just placid, down to earth guy you'd ever meet. Just the most normal person ever. Malty as well. There's no people in that change room you look at and you think, you know what, I can't say it in the camera. But yeah, I've just really enjoyed even the other people in terms of like you look at like Gal. Like Gal's obviously an international player. Strainer's been an international player. Even though Strainer's not all there. They're actually being in an environment with these people, you understand what it takes to be at that level and how much you have to perform all the time. But I've loved it, and to play like someone I've played a couple of games with Sam as well. I mean, really easy to play with. I think hopefully it'd be great to compliment him in the next couple of games. You know.
You spoke about step up that you feel you've come to here at Dundee United.
Yeah.
How much do you think that step up will benefit you in your career as you move on?
Oh, good question, that one. How do I think it would benefit me? Yeah, I think it's more so. I heard something the other day. I think it was, you can't go anywhere you've never gone by doing something you've never done. Something like that was, you can't go anywhere you've never gone before by doing something you've already done. So in terms of where I've put myself in these uncomfortable situations, in terms of I probably could have went other places to be a bit more secure, if that makes sense. You know, I could have maybe went and not took a leap trying to go down to England or tried to come up here on loan, because I knew fine well I was putting myself in a situation where I wasn't guaranteed to play every minute. But I thought it's just not in me, it's not in my personality to be kind of fearful or afraid of a jump or failing. I'd be more than happy to come and fail. I mean, it doesn't bother me in the slightest, because I failed miles worse before. I've been in a spot where playing here now is like an absolute astronomical leap from where I was in terms of when I was released as a 19-year-old kid. I had no options. To be able to sit here now and talking to you, all these cameras in front of me, it's like, yeah, I was nowhere near being anywhere near this level. So to not take the opportunity to try and get here, it's like, you're never going to be good enough to get here if you don't try and make the step to be in this environment and this level. So that was my thinking in terms of taking the steps to try and jump, because what's the point? You've only got one career. What's the point in sitting and being okay with just where you are? You have to try experience things. You have to try and experience your life as it comes, you know. And I think I've been really grateful that I've been at some good places, and you know, now I'm here.
What about the Premier League itself? I mean, how have you found that? The teams you're coming up against, the level of players you're coming up against, how have you found that?
Yeah, different. Yeah, different in terms of, I mean, some things you can't really describe. I think physicality's been maybe a bigger one in terms of, I found, there's some people you're just like, these guys are just animals, man. But you don't, I think in terms of the football, I felt okay in the games. I don't feel like, if I came here, I would have went into the gaff and just said, look, you know what, you shouldn't have bothered signing me. But I think in terms of when I've played the games, I think I've been alright. I think, you know what, I'm okay in this, I can play here. But the physicality, maybe at some points I felt, you know, right, okay, there's tiny things where maybe a half a second quicker here or a little tiny bit there, you think, right, okay, you need to be alert to some of the things going on, because I've played in many different places, like, so yeah, I think that's probably been one thing I would say. Maybe it's just a little tiny millisecond here and there you need to kind of, but then I suppose you're playing teams with millions of pounds of budgets. Especially if you're talking about Celtic there weekend, Celtic Rangers, even Hibs and Hearts to an extent, the big budgets, the big clubs. So they're going to have quality. But I've loved it. I've got to be honest, I've loved it. Looking around and you're looking at stadiums packed out and you think, this is what the whole point of when you were a kid was trying to be a footballer for. You know, a lot of people fall out of love with football. They'll come up here and they'll say you love it, but they don't. A lot of footballers don't love football anymore. I still do, and I still love it when I look around and think, man, this stadium's full, it's amazing. You got to try and enjoy every moment as it comes, you know. That's a long answer for a question, but yeah, it's just been brilliant, man. I've loved it.
Okay, last one then, from me.
No
You
problem.
talked about stadiums full, all the bits and pieces there. What do you think of the Dundee United fans?
Yeah, they've been brilliant. Yeah, I meet them all the time. So I'm living up in a place called Brighton Ferry, just past it. But like, I go into the shop and I buy something. I'll like buy a coffee, right? And then I'm on the way out and it's like, up United. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, like, I find it even now strange that sometimes people would know you. But yeah, I meet them all the time. I meet them out on the street and all. And I hoping you get an interaction with them, that they understand I'm just a normal person like them, and I'm just getting to live a, you know, my dream, and the same as what they wanted when they were a kid. But in terms of support, they give us brilliant. Yeah, even the Hearts game the other day, Aberdeen away, it was like, yeah, I really always seem to connect with people who support the club for whatever reason. But yeah, they've been brilliant, man. And they've been brilliant with me, especially in terms of coming and settling in, you know, taking sometimes with a loan player, you know, that don't get attached to a loan player, but yeah, they've been brilliant with me. And every time I meet them, I have a real friendly encounter with them. Even the fans there the other day, yeah, it's brilliant. I love all that stuff.